Hello, we are looking at the reform movements of the 19th century. Now, you all are probably familiar with the abolition movement. And as we're going to note in this lecture, unfortunately, the abolition movement had the least amount of people involved. In fact, we think about like the North as being like all like up in arms and protesting against things. That wasn't the case in the 19th century. Most people are not involved in any kind of reform movement in the 19th century. If they are involved in a reform movement, it's the first one that's on there, and that's the temperance movement, which if you go on to History 8, you're going to see goes into History 8 and becomes ultimately prohibition. And then we'll talk about abolition, which is the one that maybe y'all have a little bit of familiarity with, but it had the smallest number of people in. And then we'll also look at the women's rights movement because there's an overlap. Many of the women that are involved in the women's movement, they had kind of started to get their activism actually first in temperance and then also in the abolition movement. So there's some overlap between each of those movements in the women's rights movement. And again, you're going to have to go into History 8 to see the end of that movement. If we trace the end of that movement with the 19th Amendment that gave white women the right to vote in 1920. So we're getting to that point in our course where some of the things we're starting aren't going to really, we're going to finish them because we have to. But if you really want to see where they end, you got to go on to the next history class. All right, take care.